Bye. Bye. Rest in peace.
That's bad.
They say rest in peace.
Yeah.
Whoa, it's cold in here.
Where are we going?
Explosive.
All right, everyone. Welcome to stop number 1. Sorry for you folks in the front. You're going to have to crane your necks a little bit. I'll try to speak up. This is the explosives manual. Now, the first question you guys might have about the explosives manual is why is it about 3 feet away from the train tracks and the train? Seems like a pretty terrible idea to keep all of this dynamite right next to a train. It is a terrible idea. If this were not a museum and were a functional mine, the explosives manual would be kept way down its own tunnel. There would be nothing else important down there, so if something did go wrong, it wouldn't go disastrously wrong. A couple things I want to mention about the explosives manual. First off, it's made out of wood. It's made out of wood because we don't want any accidental sparks to ignite the dynamite. And you'll notice that everything about the design of the explosives manual is to prevent any accidental explosions. Now let's take a minute to listen to what it sounds like down in this tunnel. Can you hear all those drops of water? It's kind of humid. That humidity is a problem. Now can anyone take a guess at what water does to dynamite? Unstable, yes. There's 2 possible answers to that question. Either it makes it very safe or it makes it very unsafe. And it makes it very unsafe. If dynamite gets wet, it becomes very unstable, like that gentleman said. And if you just bang it against the wall, which would be a stupid thing to do if it were real dynamite, it would explode. It is for this reason that the miners kept a stationary electric light above the dynamite. And when we close the door to the explosives manual, that light will generate just enough heat to keep the dynamite dry and safe. So of course the obvious question is, why are we using dynamite in a mine? Now that might be too obvious, but for sake of clarity I will explain. Dynamite was of course used to blast open all of these tunnels and access the valuable ore that this mine was processing. The way that that was done was holes were drilled into the wall, the dynamite was stuffed into those holes, everyone would leave the mine, they would detonate the dynamite, and the ore would fly out into the chamber. They would then take that ore out of the mine and into the mill for processing. So now we'll continue onwards to our drilling chamber and chat a little bit about the different drilling technologies that were used at Britannia over the course of the 20th century. Also, if anyone has any questions at any point, feel free to ask me, quiz me, I'll see what I can do. Hopefully I do well, but you can let me know at the end.
I know.
from the right, make sure you bring all of your belongings with you. This is the last time you'll be on the train. And if anyone needs a hand or a step, please let me know and I'll come help you. Yeah, so 80% of what they mine is copper. They also mine some other minerals in mine zinc. Trace amounts of gold and silver, cadmium, all sorts of other small things. Less than 1%. Yeah, mainly copper. Yeah. Wow, you guys are really excellent at squeezing into a space here. This is the best I've seen so far. All right, so we're going to walk you through a little bit of the advances in drilling technology since Britannia started operation in 1904. Fortunately, Britannia had pneumatic-powered machinery from the very beginning, so air-powered drills. They didn't ever have to use old drills like this, which are essentially chisels. You pick it up, you hold it against the wall, you hammer it for 8 hours until you drilled a hole. You can imagine how tedious that might have been. But no, Britannia started with this guy. This is called the wood drill. Can everyone say wood?
Wood.
Awesome! I'm loving the audience participation. You're doing great. The wood drill was introduced in 1904. It was powered by air and it had 3 big problems. I'll illustrate the first for you. Today's not going to be the day. It's really heavy. Weighs about 275 pounds, and it would take 3 to 4 strong miners to lift it from one place to the next when they needed to drill new holes. It was also very loud. It sounded like a jet airliner taking off, and miners back in the 1904, early 20th century didn't have any hearing protection. So you can imagine that sound would reverberate around these little caverns and destroy the miners' hearing. However, the worst part of the wood drill was the dust that it generated when they were drilling into this rock. So the rock that we have here at Britannia is rich in a mineral called silica. And silica is what we use nowadays to make glass, our glass windows, glass in cars, etc. Now silica, when we're drilling into it, is going to produce these big plumes of dust, silica dust. Basically just pulverized glass. And the miners are breathing this pulverized glass in, it's cutting up the inside of their lungs. I'm just going to leave you guys in here for the rest of the day. No, we can walk right out. You can actually see the exit out there. So the silica dust would cut up the inside of their lungs, leaving scar tissue and result in a disease called silicosis. And silicosis killed many, many miners over the time that Britannia was in operation. So it's these 3 reasons that this drill was nicknamed the Widowmaker in 1904 by the miners who were using it. Pretty fatal instrument. They weren't that happy with it. Fortunately, if I can get you guys to move down with me. Incredible. I'm awestruck. In 1920s, this drill was introduced. This is called the stoper drill. The stoper drill is important because it introduced one new thing to the world of drilling, and that is water. The stoper drill is a wet drill. That means that there is a little tube running through the inside of the drill bit that pumps water into the hole that is being drilled. Now, can anyone guess why water is useful in the drilling process here? Yeah?
Probably because water makes the rock wet, which makes it unstable or easier to mine.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So the water increased the efficiency of the drill. If there was any loose rock up in the hole, the water would push that rock out and the drill would be able to drill faster. It also cooled down the drill bit and reduced the amount of dust that the miners were breathing in. So if you mix dust and water, you get mud. We're drilling up into the ceiling, so the miners are standing here drilling up and they're getting a mud shower for 8 hours. You can imagine that although silica dust sounds like a problem, standing under a cold shower in a dark mine for 8 hours causes pneumonia, and pneumonia feels like a much bigger imminent threat. The stoper drill is also much lighter than the wood drill. The stoper drill weighs about 75 pounds. I could probably lift it from one position to the next, so that increased efficiency a lot. However, it only drills up into the ceiling, so if you ever need to drill into the wall, we're back at the wood drill and all of its problems. Fortunately, those problems went away in the 1930s with the introduction of this drill. So if I can again get everyone to shift on downwards with me.
That's good.
Great, thank you so much. So this guy here is called the jack leg drill. It's named after this pneumatic leg that allows it to be positioned and wedged into the ground and allows the miner to drill into the wall at many different angles. The jack leg drill is also a wet drill. So once the jack leg was introduced, the wood drill was put out of commission and we had less problems with silicosis and dust intake in the mine. Both the jackleg drill and the stoper drill are still in operation today. These drills are used in small mining operations, but they are still used. And fortunately enough for us, this jackleg drill is functional and I do have the license to use it for you guys today. This is the first of the very loud noises that you will hear on the tour, so definitely do plug your ears. If anyone does need earplugs, are you okay? Yeah. Okay, great. I will let you know, I'll give you a countdown, 3, 2, 1 before I start. So you will be ready to anticipate it. All right, drilling in
3, 2, 1. Wow. That is freaking loud.
So that's one of the fun parts of this job. One thing to note, might have seemed easy for me to do that, it's because that hole has been drilled about 10,000 times. I'm not drilling into any rock here. If I were drilling into rock, it would be way louder and way slower. So anyway, where our drillers were coming in for our first day of work, we're going to look for this yellow square on the wall. This yellow square is called the miner's bullseye, and it indicates where all of the valuable ore is in the mountain. So as a driller, we'll look for our bullseye and we will start drilling. We'll drill up to 30 holes within the miner's bullseye. At the end of our shift, we're going to get that dynamite from the explosives magazine, bring it in, pop it in all of those holes, pop off the end with a little bit of clay, and get everyone and everything out of the mine. Once everyone and everything is out of the mine, we'll detonate the dynamite and get a big pile of rubble in front of the yellow square. That big pile of rubble is called muck, and it's the job of the muckers to move that rubble out of the mine and into the mill for processing. So if you'll follow me in just a moment, we'll take you to the mucking chamber and show you a little bit about what the process of mucking was about.
You have miners ba? Ha? Kay Unga? Tugnaw ka?
Right, so just all the way down on your left, and again, try to squeeze in as much as you feel comfortable doing, please. Now, I know this space is a little smaller, but I'm going to need everyone to squeeze in and get behind this last yellow pillar, please. How did they get the rock out? So I'm going to explain that right now. They use this machine, and they used to just do it by hand. So I'll explain that right now. It's a good question. You're way ahead of me. All right, so let's talk a little bit about mucking. However, before we can talk about mucking, we need to have a little bit of an explosion, because this is when the explosion would happen. Now we can't use the dynamite here, but fortunately we can simulate it equally effectively with the help of all of you. So on the count of 3, I'm going to get you all to yell boom and clap your hands. We're going to have a really authentic explosion here in the mine. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Boom!
Oh, you did so well. You did so well that you were focused so well. Excuse me, I got too excited. You're so focused on making that explosion sound really great that you didn't notice all of this rock tumble off the wall. Now we have all this muck here we need to deal with. So back in 1904, they would deal with this muck with the help of this trusty implement called a? No. It's called a muck stick underground. They would use their muck stick and they would shovel muck. And they would shovel muck for 8 hours. That was their entire job, shoveling muck. Now, can anyone take a guess at how many tons of muck a mucker can chop in their 8-hour shift? Anyone?
4.
4. It's more than that. 8. 8 is exactly right. So one mucker was expected to chop between 8 and 10 tons of muck during his 8-hour shift. You can imagine how much that is. It's as much as a couple large cars. Quite a lot of rock. Now this was a problem. This was really a lot of work. So of course the muckers were quite relieved in the 1920s when this machine came along. Now I am a mucker. I am mucking the muck with my muck stick. So naturally this machine is called a muck machine. You're close. I know, it's so obvious you couldn't even get it. This muck machine does work just like the drill, and I will be able to operate it for you guys today. It is also loud. It's the second loud noise you will hear, so definitely do plug your ears. It's not quite as loud as the drill, but still worth covering your ears for. And again, I will give you a countdown. All right. They're on. Mucking in 3, 2, 1. And there we have it. Now, back in the 1920s, they wouldn't retrieve their muck and put it back at the front of their mucking machine. But when you have a tour coming in 15 minutes, you kind of have to do that, I guess. So I haven't totally given you the authentic experience yet. We've had these really convenient, nice lights overhead. They did not have overhead electric lighting in 1904. So if I can get you all to make a semicircle around this box on the wall, I'll give you a bit of a lighting demonstration about what it was like to work in the mines here. And if you can just scoot back a little bit, I'm going to be standing right here in the box. So you might have to move. It's just air. Yeah. It's all air powered. Kind of compresses really good. Okay. So. Oh. I know, it's hard to keep those on. All right, so in just a minute, I'm going to turn out the lights and we can see what it was actually like in here when the miners were coming into work. It's going to get very dark in here. If you want to experience how dark it was actually when the mine was in operation, look down towards the muck pile. If, however, you feel a little bit concerned about being in the dark, you can always look out that way. There's some ambient light coming in from the outside, so it won't be totally pitch black. All right, so here we go. Turning out the lights in 3, 2, 1. Whoa. Yeah, quite dark. And the perfect time for a lunch break, I think. All right.
Perfect time to fart.
So here we go. It's a light? Yeah. So this is what the miners used for light in 1904. And this is what they used for the next 15 years as well. Just a candle.
Wow.
Yeah, and it might go out, so you can really get to experience how challenging it was. So the miners would come in with their candle, and they'd go and look on the wall for that yellow square, that miner's bullseye. They'd tack their candle into the wall, and they'd start work. And they would have just one candle illuminating an entire space like this for their 8-hour shift. Now you can see exactly how ineffective that is. We can't even see the front of the mugging machine. And oh, you can? I'm blinded by the light. Maybe some of you can see quite far. Or maybe we should hire you as a miner. Yeah, but it's still quite dim in here. And you can imagine the machines are running on air. We already talked about the water dripping from the ceiling and all of that dust filling the air. It could easily just one gust of wind or something, and then we're back in the, give it a little bit more. It's one of those trick ones you put on a birthday cake. Here. I got you. Yeah, back in the dark. I just like to do that because it's it illustrates exactly how effective the candles were back in 1904. All right, so here we go. The candles were great, but not that great. As you can imagine, there are serious problems with them. Fortunately, let's find a good one here. In the 1920s, we saw the introduction, let me make sure I don't blind anyone, of this instrument. This is called a carbide lamp. And it uses a man-made chemical called calcium carbide. Calcium carbide sort of looks like pebbles, and it's placed in the bottom part of this container. In the top, we'll just put a couple drops of water, and when that water mixes with the calcium carbide, it produces acetylene gas. And acetylene gas is what we use in blowtorches and welding nowadays.
Excuse me,
Yes.
I have a question. How many people use that candle?
So two people would typically be working in one of these chambers, and they would be sharing one candle. So that's a good question. So I will be able to demonstrate this carbide lamp for you guys today. Hopefully I will at least. They tend to be pretty fickle, so sometimes we have some trouble getting them going. But I'm going to give it a shot. Now, unlike the miners, I am required to wear safety gloves. Yeah, so we're going to put some mustard in with the calcium carbide. No, it's just water. I always get that question, though.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do you put mustard on?
Makes it yummy.
Why?
So it is just water. Okay, so.
So
Oh, this sounds like it's going to work. We'll see.
crunchy.
All right, so let's get this more authentic. Flame on a cloth cap is probably not that safe. An open flame when you're having a conversation with someone and you get too close is really not safe because you might ignite them. And you have a whole host of problems.
And a dynamite as well, right?
And, oh yeah, and of course, yeah, we have that dynamite in here too. So just a little bit of a...
Oh no.
That's the only real dynamite that we keep in the mine too.
Oh.
Alright, so let's get those lights back on. You can take a look at the carbide lamp in the light. Now the carbide lamp was in use until the 1950s, but in the 1930s, battery-powered headlights were introduced into the mine. Now battery-powered headlights, right now?
Why do we always have to keep these headlamps on?
Oh, so that's a law. That's good. It's part of the Mines Act, and it was a law that was passed to regulate safety inside of mines like this. So this was introduced in the 1930s. These original battery packs weighed about 6.5 pounds, so quite heavy, not very efficient. And the miners would have this lights wrapped around their head and stuck at the front of their helmet. They didn't like that because this wire could get caught on things. The battery pack was very heavy, and so many miners continued to use the carbide lamp into the 50s. But in the 50s, a law was passed that mandated that carbide lamps could no longer be used in the mines because no open flames were allowed. And so at that point, battery-powered lamps are the way to go. Now, of course, nowadays we have these really efficient, small, light, and bright lamps that we use. But back then, of course, it was not quite so nice. So that's the end of the underground part of the tour. In just a moment, we'll head out of this tunnel. On the left